Welcome to Raaonline. Today's session is about the posterior triangle of the neck. Posterior triangle of the neck. It is present behind the sternocleidomastoid, and this is a triangle. This is the posterior triangle and this is the sternocleidomastoid. This posterior triangle is present behind the sternocleidomastoid and the apex is pointing upwards and base is on the downwards towards the clavicle. Now we'll see what are the boundaries of the posterior triangle of the neck. In front, it is the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. So this is the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid, and behind we have the anterior border of the trapezius muscle. Base is by the middle 1/3 of the clavicle, and the apex is formed by the meeting point of both the sternocleidomastoid muscle and the trapezius muscle, which is on the superior nuchal line of the occipital bone. These are the boundaries of the posterior triangle. Before going to the triangle, now we should know what is the sternocleidomastoid. What is the origin, insertion and the nerve supply and action of the sternocleidomastoid. This sternocleidomastoid muscle extends obliquely across the side of the neck and divides the neck into anterior triangle and the posterior triangle. And if you see, this sternocleidomastoid muscle is enclosed by the splitting of investing layer of deep cervical fascia. If you see here, this is the transverse section. You can see this is sternocleidomastoid muscle, which is enclosed by the splitting of the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. As the name indicates, sternocleidomastoid, this muscle has two head. One is the sternal head. This is the sternal head. Another is the clavicular head. This sternal head is round tendon. It arises as a round tendon and arises from the upper part of the anterior surface of the manubrium sterni. The fibers, it passes upward, backward and laterally in front of the sternoclavicular joint, and this is the sternoclavicular joint. Okay, so this is the sternal head. So sternal head is round tendon which arises from the upper part of the anterior surface of the manubrium sterni, and if you look at the direction of the fibers passes upward, backward, laterally, in front of which joint? It is the sternoclavicular joint. So now we have seen about the sternal head. Now we are going to see about the clavicular head. The clavicular head, it arises as a fleshy and aponeurotic fibers from the upper border and the anterior surface of the medial 1/3 of the clavicle. This is the medial 1/3 of the clavicle. You can see the clavicular head of the sternocleidomastoid. It arises as a fleshy and aponeurotic fibers from the upper border and anterior surface of the medial 1/3 of the clavicle. And what is the direction of this fibers? It passes vertically upward and unite with the deep surface of the sternal head, and they unite to form a fusiform belly. So if you look at this picture, you can see the sternal head, which is round tendon, and you can see the clavicular head, which is fleshy and aponeurotic and which arises from the upper border and the anterior surface of the medial 1/3 of the clavicle. So, and this muscle fiber, the clavicular head, passes vertically upwards and unite with the deep surface of the sternal head, and they combine to form a fusiform belly. Now we are going to see where these muscles go and attach. That is the insertion. Insertion is the lateral surface of the mastoid process extending from the tip to its base and the lateral half of the superior nuchal line of the occipital bone. So this is the mastoid process. You can see the muscle, the sternocleidomastoid muscle goes and attaches to the mastoid process extending from the tip to its base. And if you see, the next one is, it also attaches to the lateral half of the superior nuchal line of the occipital bone. So if you look at here, this is the attachment of the sternocleidomastoid. This is the attachment of the sternocleidomastoid. So this is the lateral half of the superior nuchal line of the occipital bone. So It has two heads, clavicular head and the sternal head, and they attach to the mastoid process and the lateral half of the superior nuchal line of the occipital bone. Now we have seen both the origin and insertion of the sternocleidomastoid muscle.